Hey everyone, it's Captain V. Have I ever told you the time I was in Africa and I woke up with a pool of blood outside my door in my hotel room? No? Watch on. All right, it all started, this would have been about 10 or 15 years ago. I was fresh out of I was still in university at the time, and I decided I wanted to go somewhere really different. So after searching around a bunch of different countries, I decided upon Senegal in West Africa. And off I went. So I booked my flight, didn't really know what to expect, didn't have anywhere place to stay to booked or anything like that. A little reckless, yep. And off I went to my own. I was about 20, something like that. And I, on the flight I had to go through Britain to get there. And it started off great. I had this amazing flight that was like way more comfortable than I'm usually used to on flights. And I was so excited for all these free movies and free food and all these things like that. So was the guy next to me. And it was just so comfortable that we both fell asleep. So I woke up in London as we were landing. And I was like, no, I missed all these free goodies because I was just so comfortable I fell asleep. But that's okay. It's all good. I caught the next flight off towards Senegal. And on that flight, I met this film crew, like a professional film crew. And they were going to Senegal to film a documentary on Baba Mal, a famous Senegalese musician. And I started kind of making friends with them. And they said, hey, you know what? Do you have any plans? And I said, not yet. I'm just going with the wind. Going to be there for about a month. And they said, you know what? You should come out to the desert. Come out with us. Meet us out in the desert for this music festival and catch up with us there. I said, sounds great to me. So they told me it would be easy to find them. They said, yeah, we're, pretty much like the only white people out there. It's the middle of the desert, way out in Senegal. And they said, yeah, it'll be easy to find us. Okay. So I thought, okay, that sounds fair enough. Now, when we got to the airport in Senegal, in Dakar, I got off the plane, and they had all this, they were professional film crew, so they had all this thing set up. They immediately got picked up. But when I left the airport, I immediately got swarmed by all these people outside the doors. It was kind of getting dark, or it already was dark. And all these people swarmed me and started to kind of like grab at me, which I was not really prepared for. So I actually got grabbed by the security guards, and they like pulled me back into the airport. And they said, for your safety, you have to stay at the airport hotel tonight. So I was kind of like, whoa, okay, fair enough. I'll do as they say. And I did. And sure enough, in the morning, I hopped in. They kind of like escorted me outside. It was like more safe in the morning. And they escorted me out to this taxi that took me to transportation hub, all these bush taxis and other taxis and all these things like that. And they're all heading different directions. The Gare routière. And I found the ones that were going off to the desert, off to the place called Urusugi and Matam, these two towns where the music festival is being held, about 11 hours drive away. So I hopped in one there into this bush taxi, which is basically a station wagon with an extra row of seats. And I had a terrible seat on top of the gas tank. It was really hot. And off we went. And after about like 5 hours of driving, we stopped at the little village and got some food and stuff like that. And it was all new to me. One of the passengers kind of took pity upon me and was like, this guy is out of his element. Yeah, come eat with me. Little did I know I would be making a friendship with that guy, which I now still have today, 10, 15 years later. But at the time, yeah, so it was all new to me. We were eating with our hands on the ground and eating something called chebujian, some like fish mixed with rice and some vegetables. And I was thankful for that. I was kind of still, not too many people spoke French. As you can tell, my main language is English, but I could also speak French. But not too many people spoke French, even though it was the official language of the country. So more people spoke Wolof, Serer, Hular, some other languages. And I was a little bit surprised, a little unhappily surprised by that. So only so many people could understand me when I spoke French, at least, and none understood me when I spoke English. So still kind of getting my feet wet. Now, anyways, after lunch, we zipped on off, and this is what the countryside looked like. So you can kind of see, little shanties like this, just kind of like a shade rest spot along the way. The road typically looked like this most of the way, some paved sections, some dirt sections, and basically savanna. So mostly dry semi-desert, and the occasional trees like this. And it looked like that for basically the entire day, from sunrise in the morning until sunset when we got there. So we got there to Orosugi and Matam, and we stopped at first at Orosugi. And when we got there, everyone just spread out, right? The ride was done. And so everyone went off to the places that they were going to go. But I didn't really have a place to go. So I started looking around for a hotel to spend the night. And it was a small town, but only a few streets, 4, maybe 5. And there was like one main road kind of going either direction. And light was fading. So I kind of wanted to make sure I had a place to stay for the night before it got dark and it started to get a little bit more dangerous, kind of like off right on the border of Mauritania to the north. So I went from hotel to hotel to hotel. And these aren't really hotels, like, these are pretty simple hotels. So each one is pretty quick of that. They knew how many rooms that they had, and I would pop in and ask if they had a room, and they would just be like, nope, floor full. We're all full. And every place was full. I was kind of like, oh, like, I don't know. Why didn't I think about this? I thought, like, of course all the rooms are full. There's a big music festival going on. So I went from place to place to place. And finally, I got to basically the last place that I hadn't checked yet. And I went in and I asked them, do you have any rooms left? And at first they kind of went like, and then they said, no, we're full. And I said, like, oh, like, are you sure? Because I really, like, I'll sleep really anywhere. I need somewhere to stay tonight, and I've checked everywhere else in town. And they kind of started talking to one another, and they were like, there's this back and forth discussion about what there's something going on. But they weren't speaking French, so I couldn't tell what they were saying. And finally, one was saying no, and the other one was saying, like, trying to plead with the other one. And finally that person won. And she said to me, okay, we have a room. It's on the roof. We will show you to it. And I was kind of thinking, like, great, like, awesome. So off I went. I was following her, and I thought, like, why were they so hesitant about this? Like, what was the deal? If they have a room, why didn't they just offer it to me right off the bat? And I couldn't figure it out yet. When we went into the room, it was all kind of dark, since it was now basically dark. Like, over this discussion, it had gotten fully dark. And so it was pretty dark when I went in there. There weren't any lights in the room. So it was just kind of like moonlight starting, really, that lit up the rooftop. And I used my headlamp to look around the room. So it was a room. If there was a bed, that's all I wanted. And so it was good enough for me. I thanked them, and in I went. So I went to bed, and I woke up because I was really tired after this like long day and the kind of the stress of the night before. And I was pretty hungry too. Like, I had that one meal during the day, that one lunch that we stopped for. And other than that, like, I didn't have breakfast, didn't have dinner. And the day before was mainly flying, and I didn't have much then. So I was like really hungry, and I also hadn't had much water, so I was really thirsty. So I woke up, and I already had a headache from being dehydrated, and I was really hungry. So I started to think, like, man, I gotta get my act together here. Like, this is how people get themselves in trouble, in terms of like in being these hot environments. And it was a desert, okay, the Sahel desert. So it's like pretty hot outside, about 40 degrees Celsius. And I was thinking like, oh, I need to get food, I need to get water, and I'm in a bit of like danger mode here. Like I need to get those things right away to get the basic necessities of life. So I kind of like start getting out of bed. I look over and I look at the wall, and there are two blood handprints against the wall, kind of like this. And then one of them smears down like that. And I kind of look over like, what was that here last night? And I can't remember, right? Because I came into the room at that night before, and I looked around with the light, but not very much. I was just kind of like, thank you, and into bed. So I looked at this. I'm kind of thinking like, you know what? That's creepy, but I'm really hungry and thirsty. I gotta get going. I'll investigate this when I come back. Okay. So I kind of like put that on my mind, get my stuff into my pockets, get ready to go out onto the street to find some food and water. And I open up my kind of shanty door, and there is a pool of blood about this big right outside my door. Like something was killed at my door throughout the night. So I look down now at this blood, and I'm kind of like, what am I going to do about this? And again, my hunger and thirst took over, and I just thought, you know what? I'll deal with that later. I can't deal with that right now. So I step over this pool of blood, and I then turn towards the stairs to go down, and down it goes through the hotel and out through the like kind of open air lobby. And the entire way from the pool of blood, the entire way down these stairs as they kind of like wrap, kind of like a corkscrew, down through the different levels, is the trail of blood. So whatever was killed there at my door, then bled as it was moved all the way down 3 flights of stairs from the roof down through second, first, and down to the ground floor. Right out, I'm following it. I have to just step kind of like on either side of this blood trail so I don't step into the blood as I go down these stairs until it goes right out to the road where it then turns to sand and then it stops. So I kind of stand there and look at this and like, still bewildered by this. I'm thinking, wow. So whatever was picked up, something got picked up. Whatever was killed at my door over the night, that without me knowing, then was dragged down the stairs, and then it finally made it to the street where it got picked up by some sort of vehicle, I guess. And that was all I could figure out. So for the third time now this morning, in the past few minutes, I'm thinking, what is happening here? What have I got myself into in this country? I'm a little out of my element here, but I am in the danger zone. I need food and water. So I keep walking. I'm walking out to the main road, and I take about 10 steps out on the main road. I'm walking along this main road, and it's just like a little bit of pavement and then all dirt on the sides. And I'm the only one walking out there. As you can see, it's really hot and pretty exposed. So no one is out in the sun. If you're in the sun, you're doing something wrong. It's too hot to be in the sun. And that was me in the sun. So everyone is kind of under shade and tucked into these little kind of like shanty stores, some little like tin huts and things like that along the road. And I can kind of see some faces looking at me, kind of like, what is that guy doing out there? It's way too hot to be out there. And it's totally true. And this car is coming along the road. And at the last minute, no idea why, it veers off the road and it's coming straight at me. So there's nothing I can do except dive out of the way. So I just dive, kind of Superman head first, out from the front of this car and land in the sand. And I get up and it goes speeding off. It weaves back onto the road and just keeps on driving off into the distance. And I stand up, I'm kind of like, what the? And I yell out loud, what was that? What? And I look around for someone to acknowledge what just happened. And everyone's just kind of like, just like watching. And that guy just drives off, and there's nothing to make of it. So no one's reported to, nothing to make of it. So I'm just kind of like, wow. So I'm now just completely blown away about what I've got myself into here. But the hunger hits me again. I'm like, okay, whatever. All right, stay off the road. Noted. Okay, moving on with life. So I walk close to the shop's edge and kind of like, well, I follow my nose. I follow my nose and I smell meat. And I'm kind of like working my way there. I'm looking around for water at the same time. And on the way, I don't find any bottles of water that are nice and easy to pack with me, but I do find a like water cooler refill jug for sale, like 5 gallons or whatever, those big water cooler ones. That's the only like clean water I found around so far. So I'm like, boom, yeah, I'll take it. Again, they didn't speak French, but we worked out of like how much it cost and good to go. So managed to get that. I probably overpaid for it. Whatever, I needed the water. So I now have this, over my shoulder like this, I've got this water cooler refill jug of water, and I'm walking for food. I'm searching for food. I'm like, yes, I've got water, one of the basic necessities of life. I need the second one, I need food. Yes. And I kind of have shelter back at the hotel, but it's a little sketchy. But I'm going for food. So I'm back on the, like walking down the street like this. Okay, kind of, yeah, now you can kind of see me kind of like that. And I smell this food. I smell this meat. It smells so good. You know what it smells like when you've got barbecue in the summertime, right? You can kind of, it smells so good and it just overtakes everything else in your mind. That's what I smell. I smell the smell of meat, and I kind of work my way towards it. And I think it's this shack. And so this shack is just like tin sheets. And then there's this curtain, this like black dusty curtain across the doorway. And I throw open the curtain to see if it's in there, and it is. And I look over, and there's one guy, and he's cooking the meat. And he looks up at me, and I look at him, and I'm like, and he's like, so he knows I want the meat. So I take out this like dollar bill, which is about like $5 Canadian worth, about that much. Yeah, they use the CFA franc there. But it's worth about $5 Canadian, this. And I said, like, he also didn't speak French, so I just kind of went like, right? And he knew exactly what I meant. He went like, this much meat, please. And he was like, So like, awesome. So he could have shortchanged me. He could have given me 2 pieces of meat or things like that, right? Because I really had no idea how much it was worth there. But he didn't. He gave me how much that meat was worth there. And he basically gave me the entire pot full of meat. He had this like disposable paper plate kind of to give it to me on. And he piled the entire thing. He gave this mountain of meat. It's like this volcano of meat, this eruption of meat on this plate. And he's like, here you go, right? He didn't say those words, but yeah. And I took it. And what was it? It was liver. All of it was liver. It wasn't, I don't know what from, maybe from cow, goat, I'm not sure. But it was food. So I was interested. And it had been cooked and such. I could see that it had been thoroughly cooked and stuff. And so I was set. I had food, I had water, and off I went back. I went back up to my rooftop, right back to the hotel, up the winding staircase, over the blood, back up to the rooftop. I did not step over my pool of blood greeting me at my hotel room door. Instead, I just went straight out over to kind of like this open rooftop aside from that room and one other. So it was like a patio sort of, and you could look out over the city, well, village. And I sat and I ate and drank. So I would eat some liver, and then I'd get my water cooler jug and go and have some water like that. And I ate the entire mountain of liver. And I did not drink all 5 gallons of water. No, I kept on using that. But I got food, I got water, and I kind of like sat up on that rooftop in the boiling heat, and I thought, okay, rough start to Africa here, first time, but I can do this. I can do this. Yeah. And from then on, I started to make friends, started to learn some language, and would then end up traveling all around that country and others in the area, and would end up loving it as a result. And I would just get better and better throughout the process. So I hope you've enjoyed this story about the pool of blood, and of my first time in Africa. Hope to see you again. Hope to see you soon.